Howdy, howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome back for another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers Podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, we're your hosts, Seven Davies and Dylan Davies. Now, this episode is coming out the night before the Oscars. If you want to get Oscars content, we got 25 years of history for you that you can go watch. But we are moving forward today. We've already done our predictions for that show. We've already done 25 years of history of what we think should have happened. But today we are amping up for our soon-to-be movie tournament. Dylan, what kind of tournament are we doing this year?
We're going to do Best Action Scenes.
Best action scenes. So today we're going to...
Individual action scene.
Individual action scenes. So this could mean there could be a dog shit movie with an excellent scene in it that makes it.
Sure, yeah.
Or vice versa. Great movies, great action movies even, that don't have a stellar standout scene that might not make it or might have a low seed in our tournament.
Yeah. I'm going to actually argue a couple of those.
Yeah. And so today we're kind of going to just go free form. We are going to unveil we're going to do a 68 seed tournament just like the NCAA March Madness tournament. However, we will be unveiling all those seeds in a couple weeks' time. Today, we're just going to go free form. There's a couple movies or franchises that we just wanted to talk about and say what scene gets the nod. So you're going to learn a few seeds in our tournament today, but we're going to go a little more free form with it. Is there a franchise or a movie that you would like to start with, Dylan?
Yeah, just because I just mentioned it. Because this is the franchise I love the most, Harry Potter.
Wow.
The thing that I was thinking about is, I don't think there's actually that many great action scenes at all in Harry Potter.
I don't either.
Because it's not really an action movie all that much. So the only one that I thought maybe we would put in there is the Dumbledore-Voldemort duel.
From Order of the Phoenix?
From Order of the Phoenix. That's the only one I could see maybe putting in there. Unless you can think of something else, because I really can't think of anything else that really would fit action scenes.
And that's the thing is we are not doing it has to be fight scenes. You can do chase scenes. You can do all kinds of stuff. We're not limiting it.
Yeah, it can be anything.
And even still, yeah, I'm thinking back.
Because there's giant battles in the final one in Deathly Hallows Part 2, but there's not...
The only one I could consider, but again, I'm not sure, is I love the scene in Half-Blood Prince when they get the Horcrux and all the inferior whatever they are.
Yeah.
That scene I could consider, but I don't think it's
great. See, that's the thing is, I think a lot of their action scenes are just really good character moments.
Yes.
So that's one of the things I wanted to discuss is, should we put any Harry Potter in there? As much as I love Harry Potter, I don't know if any...
I would err on the side of no, because I was struggling with this, and a franchise that I'm going to talk about is John Wick, which is obviously over-the-top action. But I wanted to one of the rules we are going to have in this tournament is every movie that's nominated gets one scene. You could, because essentially John Wick, you could nominate the whole fucking movie.
Yeah,
and it'd be fine. The rule
is one scene per movie.
One scene per movie, and that's why we're doing kind of this narrowing down process. And part of me wants to go, well, I want more representation of different franchises and different movies. But if something's better, we just talked about this on a lot of our Oscars episode. If something's better, just let it be better. If it's good and it speaks more to what we're going for, just go with that. Yeah, I would say of Harry Potter, that would be the one.
Okay, so maybe we should just put that aside as like a maybe at the moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a maybe and which one would we go with? I could see the
I,
Inferi, but that's me.
I just think there's more creativity and different things happening in the Dumbledore Voldemort
Sure.
because the Inferi is a lot of the same thing.
Yes. It's a great horror scene. That's a great horror scene from a
Yeah,
franchise that doesn't do a lot of
and
horror.
you get the awesome Dumbledore fire
Yes, that's
at the end of it.
that
That's awesome.
beautiful. That's awesome. But
Mhm.
again, does it garner a seat in the tournament? So I'm going to put maybe for Dumbledore and Voldemort for Harry Potter, right? Because obviously,
I mean, there are like really awesome parts. I love like in Prisoner of Azkaban, like the Dementors,
yeah.
where Harry's fighting them off, um, where
So,
he's defending Sirius and stuff. But like that's I don't really consider that an action scene. So
same deal. It's I think yeah, the flying car with the Whomping Willow is
yeah,
kind of fun. I think the because I'm even looking like Triwizard Tournament stuff. I'm just going, I don't
yeah.
I don't
I
see
mean,
it.
I love Harry Potter so much, but yeah,
I mean, you have an entire tattoo sleeve
yes,
devoted
they're
to
not.
that franchise.
They're definitely not conventional action scenes.
Yes, so I'd say maybe on that.
So, should we go straight to Lord of the Rings? Because that's probably going to be the hardest one.
Yes, so that I was gonna say, let's stay fantasy. My favorite fantasy franchise of all time, the fictional story that has meant the most to me in terms of a single set story. Because obviously, there's a lot of fictional stuff that I love that's meant the world to me, but nothing gets me more emotional and more prideful than being a Lord of the Rings fan.
Hmm.
I was crying my eyes out the other night because almost every 10 to 20 minutes while I was watching the extended cut of Fellowship of the Ring, every moment where Sam's just awesome. I just go, God, I love Samwise Gamgee.
Hey,
Samwise is the
I
best.
that's so funny. Like, I think as people age, they realize Sam's the real hero of
Sam's
this story.
awesome. And the thing is, this is just finally having read the books all the way through and watching them again. Sean Astin does such a good job with that
Mhm.
character. And it was just announced they're going to be at C2E2 in Chicago, and I am supposed to be going to that with a friend. And now I'm like, I might have to go see my boy Sean Astin to see Samwise Gamgee because, oh God, it's great. So Lord of the Rings will be getting nominations. We've already kind of discussed that
Yeah.
it's going to get nominated, but what
So
gets nominated?
so Fellowship. What do we got? We got
I think I was even thinking of this. I think the chase sequence with Arwen taking Frodo is worthwhile,
uh-huh.
and being chased by the Nazgul. I could consider the fight scene from Balin's tomb. I think is great.
Yep.
The Bridge of Khazad-dûm is what most people say, but I don't think that's as I think Balin's tomb is way better action scene than the Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
I would agree with that.
The
Yep.
Bridge of Khazad-dûm is a great character moment of one of the best fictional characters ever. Because Gandalf is
Yep.
the fucking man. I also think the final forest fight is so good in so many ways.
Yeah.
That moment
So
where you got great character
would
moments,
we
but great action as well.
would we be breaking that up at all? Or would we just be calling it the forest scene?
I think it would be the forest scene in general because many times I'm going through with some of these movies and going, I think this is too long to consider an actual scene by itself, right?
Yes.
But if I
But
look at
we'll
the
talk about
actual
that. We'll talk
runtime,
about that with Return of the King. Uh,
yes, Return of the King is the one that I
mhm.
was originally when we originally were looking at things to put in this tournament. Dylan brought up someone's list, and they're like, "Oh, the siege of Minas Tirith." I'm like, that's way too long to just say
Yeah.
the siege of Minas Tirith because to me that says that doesn't include anything on the Pelennor fields. That's just
Yeah.
taking over uh, Minas Tirith or trying to lay siege to the city. And I was like, that's way too long. You can't do the whole thing as an action scene. Because then it's just like,
Mhm.
well, I want the entire battle from Avengers Endgame. Meh, 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 meh. Or
Yeah.
like, I want this or I want that. So,
Yeah, I
but the
suppose
full,
that last fight is probably only like,
it's not that long in comparison.
yeah, it's probably like 7 minutes, maybe.
And what I love about it is because you're getting the stage set for 5 to 10 minutes prior, you think that scene's a lot longer than it is. Because
Hmm.
you have Aragorn kind of taking the lead on the banks of the river. And you have the whole interchange between Boromir and Frodo, where Boromir tries to take the ring, which is a great scene, by the way. Far more appreciated by an adult than a child, Evan, by the way.
Yes.
And then you have the actual scene itself. And it all starts with that moment of Aragorn, single man against the entire army of the Uruk-hai, and you're like,
Yep.
this is a fucking king. I will follow this man till my death. And I can understand why everyone
Yeah.
in this world believes he is the rightful king of Gondor. King Elisar, we
So
love you.
I think it has to be the Balance Tomb or the forest. It has to be.
In that scenario, I think I'm going to go the forest fight.
I'd be okay with that. There's a lot of great moments in the with the cave troll and stuff, like,
Yes.
but I think there's a lot of also great moments in the forest, and you also get like probably more character depth in
Oh, so much more
in the
character depth.
in the forest too. So yeah, I'd go with that.
I'm gonna go with the forest fight. I think the thing that takes it over the top is the character depth. That is one of these things that we're gonna have to talk about for more rules of what do we constitute as why is it the best? Why is it better
Yeah, we'll talk about that during the tournament.
during the tournament? And to me, one of the things I think I would probably favor is what are the stakes? Where's the character development? Where what does it show about the character? Why do they have to do this
And
stuff?
yeah, and we might have differing views or like ways of looking at something. So
Yeah. But yeah, let's go forest fight for fellowship because
okay,
also
two,
just in terms of action and danger, Viggo Mortensen actually having to out of midair take out a knife because it was accidentally thrown too much at him, and he actually
oh
does
yeah,
that.
that's true. Yes.
I don't know what
Um,
it is about Viggo Mortensen. He actually lives as Aragorn in all three of these movies
well,
somehow, and it's
Viggo
awesome.
Mortensen, yeah, Viggo Mortensen's just awesome. Two towers. What do we got? We got
This is the part that's hardest. Helm's Deep is clearly the winner, but what part of Helm's Deep
yes.
has to take it?
I I would say the first like siege part,
When they're
or like
first,
when they first like blow up the wall, because that's when you get the iconic Legolas sliding down the stairs.
to
You get
me, it was post the wall being destroyed, and they have to go. Like Gimli is still like sinking in the water and is trying to fight, and they have to
yeah,
pull him out. You get again the classic Legolas sliding down and using the shield as a weapon as he's fucking like snowboarding essentially downstairs.
yeah,
Glorious. It's
yeah,
so good that that's where I looked. I also could have thought of the bridge sequence in which Aragorn and
yeah,
Gimli are on the bridge. Um, I think it's gonna be that subsection. To me, it's the subsection of the dam breaks, the wall breaks, through Legolas saving Gimli and getting back to the inner workings of Helm's Deep.
I'd agree.
I would agree with that one. That's because when I was thinking about it before, I was just like, I mean, Helm's Deep is the whole sequence is awesome in terms of an action scene. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna go.
Okay, so now the tough one, Return of the King.
Oh God,
Um,
quite possibly the greatest movie of all time
okay,
in
so
terms
you
of
got
Oscars. So
You got the ghosts. You got what is that called? The Ride of the Rohirrim,
The Ride
right?
of the Rohirrim, yeah. And
Uh,
God, the Ride of the Rohirrim's so good.
the Siege of Minas Tirith.
Yeah, when they're catapulting all the fucking heads in and shit, and they're torturing them with their own dead men's heads, and they got the huge hellhound battering ram coming at it, and Gandalf's
Yeah.
just so exhausted.
Oh, you got Frodo and the spider.
Has Frodo and Shelob, or Sam fighting Shelob is also great.
Yeah, yeah. I would consider that as one kinda, even though they're cutting away from it. That's like actually not that long of a scene if you actually like cut it
Oh
continuously,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Same thing as like I was thinking about that with some of the Star Wars scenes is I don't need half the space battle, but half the lightsaber fight's so good that you're like, well, I have to consider the lightsaber fight,
Yeah.
but I can't consider some of the
Yeah,
other
because
stuff.
of when they're cutting in between them, if you actually just cut that continuously as one scene, it's probably not that long, honestly.
Yeah,
So,
I would say also the battle at the Black Gate is so good of just 6,000 men just going, we know we're gonna die, but we're
yeah.
doing this for everyone else. We don't care, and it's just all out warfare. That's also great.
Yeah. I love the moment when Aragorn just chops off that dude's head.
Oh, it's great.
It's
In
awesome.
the extended edition where he just takes out the mouth of Sauron, yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. And he's just like, I don't believe him, and you're like, okay, like that's a moment that you just go, yeah, our king's got an edge, and I'm here for it. I'm fucking here for it.
I didn't realize that's not in the theatrical. I only watched the extended, so yeah, I didn't realize.
It's what's so funny is the extended versions, like just over 4 hours or right around the 4 hour mark.
Hmm.
The theatrical cut of that movie is 3 hours and 20 minutes, so it's like
Yeah. It's not that much longer.
it's not that much longer. If you're gonna do it, just do it. Where in Fellowship, it's legitimately an hour longer, so you have to go.
Yep.
Do I give the hour to this or not? I always do because I'm such a Lord of the Rings fan. I'm like, yeah, of course. I have another coworker who her boyfriend is like a huge Lord of the Rings nerd apparently, and first run of Lord of the Rings, he's making her watch all of the extended editions, and I check in every
Hmm.
week. I'm like, how's it going? She's like, haven't watched it in a while because she's one of those people that she just says like, I can do maybe 2 hours, and it's hard.
Uh,
It's hard for me to do 2 hours, and I just go, that's 2 hours well spent. You could tell me every weekend. That's a perfect relationship to me. If my wife just went, what are we doing this week? You know, she asked me what I want to do this weekend, and then she comes back. I was actually thinking, we should watch the extended editions of Lord of the Rings. I'd be like, you are the perfect woman. You're the perfect
yeah.
woman.
So, which one would you lean towards?
The Ride of the Rohirrim.
Okay, so that's that one. You got the speech, Theoden's speech,
Yeah. They're
where
all
he's
chanting
screaming,
for
where
death.
he just wants death
Oh, it's so
because he's obsessed with death.
good. It's
um,
so good. And then
and
you
then
get the full force going through.
you get the call or the horn, and that's when the Oliphants come in, right?
Yes. I would go like through
Okay.
the Oliphants. I would go
Okay.
that scene stops when Theoden is knocked down by the Nazgul.
Okay. I can go with that. That sounds good to me.
Because if we include the Nazgul, it's like, well, no, that's not fair. You get also that great scene of Eowyn. Oh, my lady Eowyn. But it's like, I think that's almost a cheat if you get to include Merry and Eowyn taking out the Witch King. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's unfair. But
Okay. That sounds good to me.
yeah, but I think the Ride of the Rohirrim is. I think the Ride of the Rohirrim is the best shot in the entire movie. I think it's the best scene in the entire movie in general. Uh,
Nah. It's not my favorite shot of the movie. My favorite shot is definitely the "You Bow to No" one, and then everyone bows for
that's
the
a
hug.
lie. That's a lie. I do. I
That's
cry every time I see you about to know one.
that's like the most powerful moment.
I'm almost crying thinking about
Yeah,
that moment.
it's the most powerful moment of the entire trilogy to me.
But yeah, the Ride of the Rohirrim is because you have to include the speech. The speech has to be in there where you just have that moment. Just you know these people are gonna die. They know they're gonna
Yeah.
die, and they don't care because it's for the greater good. That's where, to me, stakes play a lot into these action sequences. To where even doing research for this, just watching an action scene by itself, you can be entertained. But if you don't know the stakes behind it half the time, you just kind of go, okay, oh,
Hmm.
that was pretty crazy. That's pretty fun. Is there anything from the Hobbit trilogy that deserves anything? The only one I could even remotely think of, the barrel ride, I would consider.
No,
I was viewing the same way. I didn't think anything
because
deserved.
I know we will come up with 60 whatever more better ones.
The only one I would consider is the barrel ride in terms of really doing something special, unique, or fun. That's the only one
I
where I gotta go.
I don't think so. So let's jump to another I think only trilogy we would consider Indy Indiana Jones,
This is so
because
tough.
I'm assuming we won't put anything from Dial of Destiny or Crystal Skull.
Dial of Destiny. What's even the best action sequence in that
I mean,
movie?
it's got to be like the end battle where they actually go through time.
Actually, I would argue the eels and the sunken ship, I think, is better.
See, I hate the way it's filmed. It looks ugly to me.
Okay, fair enough. That would be what I think is the. Well, actually, the tuk tuk chase in Morocco is actually pretty damn good.
Again, it looks ugly to me.
So,
Everything looks so CG in that movie.
and then Crystal Skull. Ooh, obviously, Indy getting blown up in a refrigerator.
I mean, I guess I would, if I had to choose one, it'd probably be the first fight with that big ass Russian dude, or
Yeah.
maybe the Area 51 sequence.
Yeah, the Area 51 chase is pretty damn good. That's the scene that you go, maybe this movie's got something. Because the
Yeah,
scene the movie opens and Indy's thrown out of a trunk and you're like, what are you doing, my boy? And then you're like, oh, he's still Indy. He still
yeah,
got it. And then the fucking the fridge happens. And you just go, son of a bitch! Like,
yeah.
what the
Actually,
fuck?
honestly, I have no problems with that movie up until they get into the jungle stuff.
I think the
That might
fridge
be an
is
unpopular
the
opinion.
fridge is a little ridiculous, but I'm someone who can accept it
It's
because I love Indy.
it's ridiculous, but there's a lot of ridiculous stuff in indie. So
I think eventually it gets to the point of the swing, like Mutt swinging on the vines like a monkey.
exactly, that shit's stupid. All the jungle stuff is dumb.
Maybe I could see the tomb sequence where they're in the tomb and it's just Mutt and Indy, and they have it's the one where in the tomb they find the conquistadors,
Oh yeah.
but then they have like all the native warriors are coming out from all those
Hmm.
different holes. That's a good scene.
I I'd say for now we just don't pick one from either of those because we're even having trouble.
Picking which one is the best
Yeah.
one. The only so I will say this as a huge Indiana Jones fan. The only movie I think that has one is Raiders.
I completely disagree.
Where I
I
want
think
to.
I think Temple of Doom definitely has one.
Well, here's my issue. It's not that it doesn't have one. I should rephrase. Raiders was the only one that I just went. If you do not have Raiders, this tournament is bullshit.
But
Whereas
yeah,
if Temple of Doom and Crusade have great stuff, don't get me wrong, but I didn't go, if I don't put those in, I think this tournament loses all credibility. Whereas if you don't have Raiders, I truly believe this tournament has no credibility.
I think the minecart chase in Temple of Doom is better than 90% of Marvel action sequences.
Fair. I also think the end battle on the bridge is great. Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's a tough choice.
I think it's minecart though. I think you're right. It's minecart.
Yeah. I would pick that.
Yeah. Let's go
And
Temple.
then Last Crusade, if we were to pick one, you got the aerial sequence with him and Sean Connery in the back.
Yep. That's
You
awesome. That's
you got
awesome.
the tank chase, and
I think it's the tank chase.
the boat sequence.
Boat
Mm,
sequence. Ooh, the boat sequence is really good. Damn it. I wasn't thinking about these two because I just focused so hard on Raiders has to be
you
in.
you also have the River Phoenix opening.
Yeah, the River Phoenix is so good. Also, just watching Stand By Me for the first time a couple weeks ago, watching River Phoenix, I'm like, God damn it, River. Why did you have to have demons, man? You're so good.
Yeah, he was like, he would have been amazing because like there's a movie called My Own Private Idaho
Yeah.
that him and Keanu Reeves are in the early '90s. Like he would have been something special. It's just, him and Heath Ledger, like
Well, I was reading up on River Phoenix after watching Stand By Me. I knew River Phoenix passed away early and it was a tragedy and all that, but it was amazing to even see some of the stuff where people were like, oh no, he kind of had a clean cut new James Dean image that he hated, but people were like, no, this is the James Dean of this era, and he kind of has the
hmm,
exact same.
yeah, I could see that.
He's
Yeah,
just got that. He's just got something about him where there's just this weird otherworldly charisma where you just go, I need to follow this person wherever he is going. I just need to know what they're doing. He has that about him.
yeah,
And I also like the character stakes of Rivers' performance in that, where you get to. That's the right way to explain why someone is the way they are. Where they already have these true, steadfast beliefs, but then something happens in there where they learn something about themselves. And I love the fact that I love when it's just a snake, and then 5 minutes later you're like, no, I understand why he's traumatized for the rest of his
yeah.
life.
Is it better than the tank sequence though?
Oh, that's tough. That's so tough. Because the tank sequence, when he's getting dragged in between the rock wall and the tank,
Yeah,
that's incredible film. That's
yeah,
Spielberg magic.
and then you have the whole thing with like Brody and his dad inside the tank, and he has to get him out of the tank.
Oh god, yeah.
And then his dad's like going on the conveyor belt of the wheels of the tank,
Yeah.
and he's like using the whip to try to keep him up. Like,
Also hurting him as he's getting
yeah,
tank treads to his back. Oh god, yeah.
I think it's got to be the tank sequence.
Yeah, I want it to be early indie, but
There's so much
yeah,
like there's so much good Spielberg cause and effect of in the take sequence that
that's
I think it
magic.
has to be it.
It's
Yeah,
it's magic. That's Last Crusade is such a good ending to that trilogy. And
should have been the final
well, I
ending.
love that Spielberg literally is like, "Why do you think I made that shot? I
Yeah,
literally had them running off into the sunset
yeah,
because I wanted it to be done." But George Lucas is just like, "No, indie should be forever." Like, and I love that, but I hate it at the same time because Crusade
yeah,
is such a good. Nope, they've done it. It's over.
yeah. Um, yeah. Okay, so then, what do you want to do? Jump to Star Wars?
Let's just finish off indie. We got to do Raiders. Raiders
Oh,
has so
Raiders.
many. Raiders has so many
I
scenes.
I forgot we didn't talk about it. I think it's got to be the chase.
The truck chase.
I think it has to be.
I was gonna go with the truck chase because the thing is, this is I originally said it's got to be the open, but is the open that much action was the concern.
Yeah, and there is action. There's a little bit of action, but not well. As soon as like the thing sinks, then it's an action sequence.
And not
There's a
only is
lot
it,
of build up. There's a lot of great build up to it.
yeah,
I mean, top 5 openings of all time, I would argue.
top one.
I, I mean, hey, I wouldn't argue that hard against that. So
That is the best introduction to a character ever. of just you constantly see him and you're like, there's something special about this guy.
Yeah.
Something special. And then he hits the whip, walks out of the shadow, and you're like, this is the fucking man. Yes, I'm here for it.
I think it has to be the truck chase though, because like the practical elements of it, the stunt work, it's
Stunt
pretty
work's
amazing.
incredible. The other thing is, I saw this on The Ringer did a great movie scenes draft, and I didn't I stopped watching it because I was like, well, now it's spoiling movies that I haven't seen that I want to see.
Uh,
But they were talking about Raiders and the camera work in the truck scene. You clearly know what Indy's going for. You know why Indy needs to do what he's doing. You have every motivation, and any moment that could give away that it's not Harrison Ford doing something is
yeah,
shot perfectly, so no audience member can ever say Harrison didn't do that. Well, that's not Indy. Like no, every like even when he's underneath the truck, the arms it's perfectly angled so an arm never shows a stuntman.
yeah.
It's perfect.
Vic Armstrong, that's the stunt man.
Like it's always shot so you just
Same
go,
thing.
nope, that's Indy. It's Indy
It's the
doing that.
same. It's the same thing in Temple of Doom with the conveyor belt sequence, the rock crusher,
Yeah.
because Harrison Ford like threw out his back or something, so he was out for like 2 weeks,
Well,
and it's
that's why he has the bad back with the voodoo doll because they had to incorporate
yeah,
that into the movie.
yeah. So, but yeah, that's just classic Spielberg. Like he's so great at geography of a sequence.
Oh,
Like,
he's truly the best at it. There's not a
you don't you don't get
single person that's
confused
ever
at
done
all. So
it. The only reason you have to pause is half the movie of Raiders is a better action scene than 99% action scenes ever.
exactly.
You have the initial run with the boulder. Then you go to after that, you have the great shootout in Nepal. That scene's
Mhm.
incredible. Then you go to the basket chase, which
Yep.
includes the most famous and best scene of circumstances dictating something awesome. Harrison
Yeah.
Ford has dysentery. It's like, what would he do? He's like, I'll just pull out my gun and shoot him. And immediately,
Yeah.
that's one of the best character scenes ever shot
Yeah.
on film. You have the basket chase. You have all the stuff that happens in the tomb where Indy's got like Indy and Marion have to put the snakes away. Then he's got to tip the thing
Mhm.
over. Then you get that great horror piece. Then you have the whole fight underneath the airplane where Marion's locked in the airplane, which
Yep.
then leads to the truck chase. Then the submarine sequence is even good. Like it's just that whole movie
Exactly.
is perfectly shot.
It's amazing.
So you can't just go, oh, I think it's just this and this alone. You have to at least consider it. I think it is the truck chase though. That scene's that sequence is so good.
Yeah.
And
That's the one I would go
the
for.
tension built in it with the guys climbing up front and taking them all out one by one, and he's still shown to be fallible. It's not Marvel esque where you're like, well, I know Captain America's gonna take this.
Oh, yeah, I mean, he gets shot during the
Yeah,
sequence.
he gets shot, and you're like, no, Indy, please, no. Like, yeah, let's say the truck chase. Okay, what was the
Um,
next franchise you wanted to go to?
Star Wars. Want to go to that?
I think there's only two sequences that
Okay,
I
which
would
ones would you
consider.
go?
Again, great sequence, bad movie, Duel of the Fates, the
Okay, I would
lightsaber fight,
agree.
and
I'd agree
then
with that.
I can see consideration for Anakin and Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith. It gets too cheesy at the end for me, which is why I said I have to consider it. But the
Yeah,
beginning, all the way through, when they try to push each other with the Force at the same time, literally as a kid, that was the moment I was waiting for. I was like, why doesn't when I for years I said, wouldn't it be cool if two people like what would happen if two people pushed each other with the Force at the same time? And they do it, and as a kid, I was losing my shit in the theater because I was like, I thought of that. That's amazing. They finally did it. That was one of those movies. That was one of those times this moviegoer was so rewarding
let's
to
put
see
that
that.
in the maybes.
So Anakin and Obi Wan is a maybe.
Yeah, because yeah, I don't love that sequence.
I think the first half of it is so good. and the second half is
Yeah,
where it loses me. Where they start doing the swinging, we're gonna strike each other as
yeah,
we're swinging. That's where I
yeah,
kind of go, okay, we're getting a little too.
yeah. And then when they jump on the things that like are floating
Yeah,
through the lava, it just goes on too long.
that's where I kind of go, okay, okay. Other than that, I don't have a single piece of Star Wars that I think is up
I'm
for
fine with not
debate for
putting
me.
anything else.
Well, I'm just thinking Attack of the Clones doesn't have one for me. The Yoda Dooku fight's cool, but I don't think it's
No,
there. New Hope doesn't have a single piece that I think is amazing.
no. The Vader Luke fight in
Empire.
Empire is cool, but I don't think it really
That it's
holds
a
up as an action
I
sequence.
was gonna say that's a better character scene than it is an
Yeah.
action sequence.
Same thing with Jedi.
Jedi I could think about, but I wouldn't.
The speeder bike thing, that
Speeder bike
chase,
through Endor's pretty cool.
pretty cool, but I think there's better.
Yeah.
I think we could find 60 better. So maybe write that down as a maybe again.
Speeder bike, Endor. And the other thing is, I don't think there's a single one from the sequel trilogy that I'm like, oh, gotta
Nope.
have.
I would say maybe the one that I would put down is the first like Millennium Falcon uh
That's a pretty good
flying
scene. Yeah, in Force Awakens.
where Ray flies it. Like that's the one maybe.
That's a really cool scene. That I could think of a maybe for that. But
Yeah. Other than that, I don't think anything special in any of those.
well, Last Jedi's trash.
I completely agree. That movie sucks.
I think the intro is the best part of that movie.
I think the whole movie sucks.
Oh, I don't like it. I want to make that very clear. I just think the best part is that intro where Poe's just like, we're taking it. And then you see the sister, Rose's sister or whatever, dropping the bombs will drop, and she's like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to sacrifice it for everything. I think that scene's incredible. But after that, I just go, this is unraveling. That
I
seems
hate
hard.
I hate that entire movie.
And then you got Rise of Skywalker when they're riding the equivalent of Tauntauns on the fucking. That's cool, but it's also like, all
Hmm.
right. Rogue One.
The space battle probably is the coolest part. Where like they do the hammerhead thing.
Yeah.
That's probably the coolest part, but eh.
Solo doesn't have anything. Yeah. I think that's it for Star Wars.
You know what's really sad is like Solo should have probably the coolest sequence
The
in
Kessel
the
Run.
entire. Yeah, it should have the coolest sequence in all of Star
I
Wars.
think it's cool, but it's not.
It just looks so ugly.
It doesn't have that tangible thing to it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. There's like too much going on
Yes.
screen.
Yeah, I'd say Duel of the Fates is the only one that's guaranteed.
I'd agree.
Okay. Um,
I'm trying to think of bigger franchises that we need to knock off here.
John Wick.
Okay.
What
I
makes
I
it from John Wick?
I really don't remember the third or fourth one. I've only seen them once, and nothing stands out from those.
So I think both have a scene that are tremendous, that are better than anything we've even considered in maybes.
Okay.
So
Try to remind me of the scenes.
okay, so let's go through. John Wick 1's the only one I haven't refreshed my memory on because I just watched these in anticipation for this.
Okay. Well, the first one, you got the house invasion.
It's pretty damn good.
You got the nightclub scene.
Also good.
Yeah. You got the final fight with that final boss, pretty much. What other sequences in there? Oh, pretty much like I don't know what to call it, but it's pretty much it's like a car chase pretty much, and it goes into like that warehouse.
Yeah.
Um,
Nothing is striking me about John Wick 1 that I'm like, has to.
See, I think the best sequence in John Wick 1 is the nightclub.
Okay. Because John Wick 2, I think the catacomb escape is awesome.
Yeah, I think that's the best scene of the second one.
So I'd go John Wick 2, it's catacomb escape. John Wick 3, I think you could either do the final fight between the three samurai, if you will, or the escape in Casablanca with Halle Berry and her dogs. I think that scene's awesome. And they're running in tandem and you have the dogs attacking everyone. That scene's rad.
See, I remember vague parts of it, but I can't recall most of it. So I'll say sure. Like, I'm sure it is good because John Wick. And then I remember being pretty underwhelmed by the fourth one.
So I was starting to feel that way, and then the final act, it really ramps up, where you have the entire fight sequence through like an apartment building, essentially, or like this big estate in France, and it's shot from bird's eye view over the top sometimes, and that's incredible. Or you have the entire climb of the stairwell. That's awesome. Where he's just taking guys out, and then he gets all the way to the end, and then more bad guys show up, kick him all the way down the stairs, and he's like, fuck. And it's with the timer, you're like, please, John, just get to the top. Please, John, get to the top. And then
I'll just trust you on that because, yeah, I can't recall, honestly, any of it.
I think I'm going to go. I think for the stakes, because it starts where it's the chase through Paris. So I'm just trying to refresh your memory, where he's driving through, and then he gets to the circle in Paris, like the famous circle with the gate statue in the middle, and then it's just people driving in a circle, and then people are hunting John Wick down in that circle drive, and they have to avoid cars and kill each other at the same time.
Oh.
That's awesome. And then it ramps to he gets to this like apartment complex, and then more people just keep showing up to kill him. And then you also have Mr. Nobody, who's actively half protecting him, half trying to kill him because he's trying to make the bounty go up. And he's just like, no one's going to kill you except me. But when the time's right and the money's right, I am going to kill you.
I'll just trust you on which scene is the best, I guess.
I think the stairwell. The stairwell sequence is so cool. Because the whole time you're like, something bad's about to happen, and he gets kicked down the entire flight of stairs, and you laugh because you're like, this is ridiculous. But at the same time, you're like, it's John Wick. The whole thing's fucking ridiculous. So I'll go the stairway. That's up for consideration and debate then. Alrighty.
James Bond.
I thought of 2, maybe 3.
Okay.
I think the parkour scene from Casino Royale.
Okay. I was gonna say has to be. That's a must-have, honestly.
I agree with that. I couldn't think of anything else that had to be from James Bond. And I love James Bond. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
The ones I would consider, I think the last stairwell fight in No Time to Die is pretty good. I think the nothing from Spectre is calling to me that I have to have it. Even Skyfall. There's nothing in Skyfall that I'm like, you gotta have this from Skyfall.
I think the best is the high rise
Sure.
fight where it's like almost in silhouette.
Yeah.
That's probably the best one. But yeah, it's not like one of the best action sequences of all time.
I don't think Quantum has one.
No.
And Casino Royale, I thought about that first bathroom fight to really introduce that character. I think is good.
Yeah.
I think the parkour scene's the best one.
Parkour has to be.
I also think the final sequence is really damn Casino Royale.
No, Casino Royale definitely has like the best ones of the franchise.
And then older James Bond, the two I could think of was the tank chase through Moscow in GoldenEye,
Mm-hmm.
and the jump in GoldenEye.
See, I would also include the plane fight in Living Daylights, where they're hanging on to the cargo that's falling out of the plane. That's
Yeah,
pretty good
that's
because that
pretty good.
feels like a Mission Impossible sequence.
That was cool. The only other
But
one
I wouldn't include any of those.
I do think the other scene that is really up for debate that just came up to mind is, although not the best James Bond movie or the best movie, the Tomorrow Never Dies sequence when they're handcuffed together on the motorbike.
Mm,
That's incredible. That's an incredible action scene the way it's shot.
yeah,
And like the
it's
jump
good,
over the
but
helicopter and they have to take the helicopter out while handcuffed together. I think that's incredible stuff.
it's good, but I don't think it's one of the best.
Plus, I will say there will be no credibility on this list unless Michelle Yeoh appears at least once.
Oh, I'm going to argue for a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequence. So
So we'll talk about that down the road privately, which Michelle Yeoh entry gets in. So the maybes I would say are the two GoldenEye shots, Tomorrow Never Dies, and Living Daylights. Those are the only ones
yeah,
that I can think of
yep,
that have to be in it,
yeah.
or maybes to get in. But otherwise, I didn't. James Bond is another franchise I thought was like, oh God, you're gonna have so much James Bond. You're not.
Yeah.
You really
Now,
don't.
one that's going to be tough is Mission Impossible.
I thought of two that have to be in.
Okay, which ones?
The Burj Khalifa climb is obviously.
Yes.
There's no debate. Ghost Protocol's Burj Khalifa climb has to be in this.
Yep. I agree with that.
And then for the sheer icon status and the tension building, because we keep going into these things that are fight scenes. I think the heist, where he's hanging down like all prone in Mission Impossible 1, I think that one's probably a must have.
I'd be okay with that. Uh, I think the helicopter sequence in Fallout, I would argue for that.
It's damn good. Him hanging on the side of a fucking plane on Rogue Nation's pretty fucking cool.
See, that doesn't. I don't think that's long enough.
Some of the stunt work in there is so
Rogue Na-
incredible.
in Rogue Nation, I would argue for the water tank sequence. That'd be
Ooh,
my choice.
the water tank sequence is good. I want a table Mission Impossible. We know the Burj Khalifa has to be in. Would you
I'm
agree
going.
you have to have the heist scene with him hanging? Do you have to have that?
I wouldn't say you have to, but I'd be perfectly okay with putting it in.
So I'm gonna
Because
go.
if you're arguing it has to be, I'd say sure.
It's
That's
just
fine with
more
me.
so. It's the icon status. To
Yeah,
me,
sure.
that's
I mean, it
close.
is iconic.
It's close to Raiders in the not like I don't put them on the same level, but in terms of action, it something from that has to kind of be in
Yeah,
because it's of such a high quality, and you still have that Brian De Palma magic to it, where he's just plotting shit out to make it look good, and the
yeah.
sweat drop, and he's just trying not to sweat on the floor, and the
Hmm.
whole time you're like, please don't let that fucking sweat drop come down, please,
Yeah.
please, please.
I would say the helicopter in Fallout is a must, but that's just my personal view.
Let's go. The helicopter is a strong maybe.
Okay.
Fallout 6, right?
Yes. And then I'd say another strong maybe is the water tank in
Mission
Rogue
Impossible.
Nation. What's another franchise? Batman's.
Yep. All right. I thought of two.
Okay.
I think you need to have the truck flip, but the entire chase scene through Lower Whacker is incredible. The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight. Okay.
And then again, bad
That's better
movie.
than the tower, like taking out the Joker henchman.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think because it's an all-encompassing action scene where I would consider the Joker henchman, especially because then you get the true Batman eyes for the one and only time in the Dark Knight
Mm.
franchise, where I'm like, that's awesome, that's so cool. That I remember a friend of ours, Alex Paulson, and I losing our shit. We're like, he's got the eyes. Ah! Like, we lost our shit just seeing that. Where, but I think the one that has to be from the Dark Knight, because you get the character moments of the Joker hanging out of the truck. You get the Batmobile getting shot by the rocket launcher, then shooting into
Oh,
the Bat Pod,
okay.
and you get the truck flip.
No, no. Now that you say that, yeah, I agree. I didn't remember that whole like the him pulling out the bazooka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, again, bad movie, great scene, and even violates the core tenets of the fucking character. But Batman versus Superman, that warehouse fight for Batman is incredible.
I would I'd say I'd be okay with that because that is a
That's
great sequence.
that is such a great sequence. It's
I would
so
also
good.
argue for something from the Batman.
I couldn't think of what the Batman would be. That was, I think it's the last one. It's the last sequence. That
Yeah.
I think that's it. I would put that in the maybe. Because the other thing is, again, I was trying to make sure we didn't just like overdo anything, including the Batman. Even though I think everything Batman should always be represented at all times.
Well, I think the coolest shot in the Batman is where he's walking down the dark hallway and then just the gunfire is like bouncing off of him.
That's incredible.
I'm trying to remember the fight around that though.
It's kind of it's good, but it's not. It's not
Okay.
this level. Because I also think the last sequence is
Oh, you
great.
got the
The
the penguin chase,
the penguin chase is the one I was gonna say is if I were
and
gonna
then it
consider something, it would be the chase.
because I would argue that's like arguably one of the most iconic recent shots of all time of like recent movies is the upside down Batman walking towards them.
Yeah. Well, I just love I got you, and then he just the Batmobile comes through the fire, and
Yeah.
he just you see Colin Farrell's penguin just he knows he's fucked.
Plus, plus you get the Batman theme in there
Oh
for
yeah.
that movie, and it's great.
Oh, that is good.
Put that in the maybes.
I'll put that in the penguin chase, yeah. And then I even Marvel I was having trouble with. Like what does Marvel get?
Okay, so let's go through the MCU.
I don't think
Iron Man,
no.
no,
Incredible Hulk, no.
no,
Iron Man 2, no.
definitely not.
Thor, no. Captain America First Avenger, I don't think so.
No,
Avengers,
no,
I don't think so. Iron Man 3, no.
no.
Thor the Dark World, no. Captain America Winter Soldier, I thought about the elevator sequence.
Mm, it's
I think you have Winter Soldier I put on the back burner. I was like,
I
okay,
put a
maybe.
maybe on that.
And then after that, let's see. I'm trying to go in chronological order here. Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think there's one.
See, I love that movie so much.
I know you do, and I do too. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It holds the record for most times seen in the theater by Evan Davies.
Uh,
I don't know
Where
if
are the
there's
action sequences?
exactly. I think the best scenes are the interstitial character play
No, they definitely
in
are.
are in action scenes. But I think the most iconic stuff of that is the character moment and the fight around it's kind of like whatever. Like I love when the Nova Corps
I
all
guess
lock up
the
against the Dark
prison
Aster.
the prison break maybe.
Maybe I could think about. But again, it's a strong maybe.
Yeah, because we're having to even question it. Nah.
So I mean, I'm looking through the entire MCU. The only ones I thought of.
So I pulled up the it in order. So you got Age of Ultron,
No.
Ant-Man,
No.
Doctor Strange,
No.
Guardians 2.
No.
Yeah, the best one is probably the Rocket Forest fight.
Yeah.
That one's pretty good,
That's
but
fine.
still no.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming.
No.
Yeah, definitely. Thor Ragnarok.
No.
The Hulk Thor fight's pretty good, but yeah. Black Panther.
No.
Avengers Infinity War. I would argue there's probably something in there, but I don't know how you would break it up.
To me, if I were gonna say it was gonna be something from that, I think it's the reveal of Captain America to the end of that fight sequence, or it's Thor returning with Rocket and Groot and that battle.
I'd put
But
that as a maybe, I guess.
the Thor reveal or the Thor
Yeah,
return.
that's pretty epic actually.
Plus, then you get the mini female Avengers team up where you get like Black Widow
Yeah,
and Okoye, and they're fighting. What's her name? Is that Proxima Midnight? Something like that.
Ant-Man and the Wasp,
No.
Captain Marvel,
No.
Endgame.
This is where I thought
There's got to be something. I would actually say that, even though I mean, I like Endgame quite a bit, but
my issue with Endgame is where do you break it up?
I
Because I think the best
I
scene is the portal scene, but that's not an action scene. That's just a review
I
of
would
everything.
argue it's Thanos versus
Cap.
Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America.
I would say it's Cap gets Mjolnir and takes Thanos one on one. That's where I go.
Wait, isn't that the same fight though?
Yes, but there's the clear turn where it's the three of them struggling, and then Thor's about to get the axe, and then all of a sudden you see Mjolnir move, and you're like, every audience member
I think
knows
that's the same fight though,
it
because
is.
like
It
it's
is.
probably still like 2 minutes. The
It
whole
is. It's
thing.
just that's what takes that scene from oh that's good to that's iconic.
I would argue that's one scene though.
Yeah.
So I would put that
To
down
the
as
point
actually
where
like
if I remember correctly, out of pure stubbornness, when I did the 2019 Oscars retrospective episode thumbnail, I intentionally put because you also have to pick the popular movie for the thumbnail to make sure that people actually click on it and want to watch it.
uh-huh.
I intentionally had that moment where Cap gets Mjolnir for the first time, and I was like, "No, we don't need Tony Stark. We need Captain America. We need Steve Rogers." Out of
I
pure
would actually
stubbornness,
I would actually put that down as like
it's in.
it's in.
Okay, that's the Endgame one.
Yeah.
So I don't think the female Avengers gets there, which I also think is incredible. I think that's great.
It's too
Um,
short of a moment.
I and the entire fight in general after the portal scene where they're all marching together, that's awesome. Don't get me
It's
wrong.
awesome, but I what would you call that?
Exactly. I'm like, where do you put it? Battle till this moment? Like
Yeah.
that's where I go. Um, I will include the whole fight, but just so I can remember it quickly, it's just Cap Mjolnir.
Okay. Yep. Far From Home.
No,
Yeah, the Venice sequence is pretty cool.
I think the best sequence of the movie is the Mysterio illusions fight.
The final one, you mean?
No, the one beforehand where he sees like zombie Tony Stark and he has to like fight in pure
Oh yeah, yeah.
darkness and
That is
spider
pretty
sense is
cool.
coming up. I think that's the best
Yeah.
scene. That would be the maybe for me from Far From Home.
Black Widow. I
No,
haven't seen it.
no.
Shang-Chi.
The bus fight is one I thought might have to be in. That's
I would
that's an incredible
I
scene.
would say no. But
That's an incredible scene. An incredible action piece.
Eternals.
No.
No Way Home.
No.
Multiverse of Madness.
No.
Thor, Love and Thunder.
No.
Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
No.
Quantum Mania.
No.
Guardians 3.
No.
there's a lot of like enjoyable sequences in that movie, but yeah, nothing like stand out. The Marvels,
No.
Deadpool and Wolverine,
In this category, I don't think they're that level. I think they're really fun,
and
but
the final one, Brave New World.
I can tell you for a fact, no.
Okay. Yep, that's all the MCU.
We missed one pretty notable one: Captain America: Civil War.
Oh, it wasn't listed on the Wikipedia.
Well, they fucking failed on that part then,
Unless I just missed it on accident.
because it's 2016.
Let me
It's right
go back
before
here.
Doctor Strange. Yeah, is that the movie before Doctor Strange? Yeah, I think so. So when they were doing
Oh,
2 year.
yeah. I guess I just overlooked it. Yeah, Civil War.
The airport scene's pretty damn good. Is there something from Winter Soldier or Civil War that you feel needs to be in, or is a strong maybe?
I'd say the I'd say the airport scene is a strong maybe. I wouldn't say it has to be in though.
Okay. And what about Winter Soldier?
Again, the elevator sequence I would say is a strong maybe.
Okay.
Are there
Slash.
any other what other Marvel movies are there?
Well, you are you talking about like non MCU movies?
Yeah.
I mean, then we're going into X-Men, we're going into the Fantastic Four, we're going into that kind of territory. The only ones
Let's
I can
see.
think of is the Quicksilver scene in Days of Future Past and
So,
the Nightcrawler scene in X2.
okay, so we got Spider-Man, the first one.
No.
Yeah. Green
Also
Goblin.
Blade. The Blade trilogy's in there too.
I got it pulled up here. Green Goblin fight's pretty good. Spider-Man 2,
The
I
train
think the Doc
sequence.
Ock. Oh yeah, that one. Put that as strong maybe. Blade, I would say no. X-Men, the first one,
No.
nah. X2,
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler's
I'd say that.
incredible.
I'd say it has to be in. X3.
No.
Let's see. X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Not a chance in hell.
X-Men First Class.
I would say no.
Days of Future Past.
Quicksilver in the Magneto prison, the kitchen.
Oh yeah.
I would say that's it.
Yeah.
That scene's incredible.
I'd be okay with that. Yeah.
No.
Apocalypse, no. Logan,
Logan, I don't know if there's a single one.
exactly. I was gonna say I love that movie, but
I think Logan's incredible, but
um, Deadpool 2.
maybe the
eh,
bridge sequence in Deadpool, like the initial intro to the character.
Yeah, I'd put that as a maybe.
Okay, Deadpool 2,
Any
nothing really strikes me as a. Uh, I do love the influence of both comedy and action in the X Force drop.
It is fun, but I wouldn't put it in there.
I
It's a maybe,
I think it's
but
a great way to show the depth of action itself. That's more the reason why I think it could be in. It's not necessarily like, oh my god, that action's so much better. It's more so how can you use action in a different way than just stabby stab shooty shoot kind of thing.
um, nothing from Fantastic Four,
No,
nothing from Daredevil,
no.
Venom, no. Spider-Verse movies.
No, I don't think anything's really. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think any animation's gonna make it into this tournament. It's not to shit on animation.
I might fight you on that. I don't know
Well,
what yet,
exactly.
but I might fight you on that.
It's more so. It's not meant to be like animation sucks. I just
The
don't know.
Incredibles?
I don't know if anything matches up to.
I think The Incredibles has something. Let me think about
I
that.
mean, I think of the comedy sequences of like the wrestling fight in Shrek, like that.
That's
That's
fun.
that's fun to me. I
Okay, what other big franchises we got?
think that's kind of it. I don't think anyone else really has to be. I think the rest of these are all private conversation for us to make the seeds. I don't think any
Yeah.
other franchise out there. I think we had to talk MCU, we had to talk Batman, because I don't think any of the other DCU movies or anything in the DC universe outside of Batman has anything to be like, yeah. Um,
Uh, DC. Yeah, no.
well, there is one. You and I have already talked about that, but I don't. There's one scene that will make it from a DCU movie, besides
Oh, yes,
Batman.
yes.
But we'll keep that to ourselves. But we talked James Bond, we talked Lord of the Rings, we talked Harry Potter, we did more than I already thought we were going to do, and I think the rest is
Oh,
now down to.
uh, can we just do one more?
Sure.
Pirates.
Oh God.
I think there's only. Ooh, actually, I only think we need to talk about one of the movies, and then we
Okay.
can talk about if anything else deserves it. If we include one from Dead Man's Chest, do you include the Kraken sequence, or do you do the big ass like wheel sword fight sequence? Because both those are impressive.
I'd say the Kraken.
Okay, because I'm fine with either. I mean, the stunt work in the wheel
That's
sword
what
fight
makes it really impressive. Yeah.
is really awesome. Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if either makes it, but I understand why you're asking me about it.
Yeah. I might fight for one of those.
Okay.
I don't know.
And
I'm just
then
thinking of like impressive stunt work.
the Curse of the Black Pearl. I think it's probably one gets in. It's the
It's got to
siege
be the
of.
port. No, it's got to be the Port Royal. Jack Sparrow chase. You know,
Yeah,
where
probably.
he's swinging around and shit.
Yeah.
It's like the most fun sequence, at least.
Yeah, because then it leads into the Will and Jack first sword fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then at World's End, I don't.
Uh, I don't think anything.
I think at World's End is kind of like another Avengers Endgame where it's all really impressive and really cool.
Yeah.
But what do you say is because the second
Yeah.
they're in the
It's too
Maelstrom
much.
is awesome. Like even if you don't like that franchise, you have to admit that's a lot of fun watching
Yeah.
the Pearl and the Dutchman go at it together.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just gonna spoil it now too. Nothing from Fast and the Furious is gonna be in here because I have not seen any of those movies, and
Alright.
I don't know if you have either.
So I can tell you, I've seen very little of the Fast and the Furious, and I don't like it. So
Okay, so there's not gonna be one in there.
I might do a deep dive. So here's the thing. I'm trying to go down. I've been doing some deep dives of stuff I haven't seen to at least say what is the merit of the scene. If there is something to me from what I know and what I've seen of Fast and the Furious, it feels very much like I just talked about with at World's End or Endgame or some of these other big spectacle fight movies. In the whole thing just happens. So what do you really do? To me, that's what it is. I don't know if anyone else would feel differently. Obviously, Fast and the Furious fans would be like, "How could you not have?" or "How could you not have?" But to me, they just feel very much one note from what I've seen of them. So
Hmm.
that's just me. But I think that's it. Let's just piss off the entire internet of Fast and Furious fans and leave the show where
Sounds
it
good to
is.
me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it would be funny if someone loves the Fast and the Furious and they hate superhero movies. Like, what are all these superhero movie entries? This bullshit. And then also be like, no, Fast and the Furious at the same time.
Hey, don't worry. I'm not gonna argue for a superhero movie fighting to the end. That's just a spoiler.
I think it all depends on the seating, man. It all depends on where it
Yeah,
lands.
that's true. That's very true, actually.
Because there might be a scene that you just go, it's better than what it got up against. Like, that's the thing is when the seating, Dylan and I have talked about the seeding, and I think we're gonna seed like the top 4 seeds in every bracket. Like this is clearly a top tier. This is so we know that those are in play for long periods of time. Then we're gonna kind of randomize it. So what happens if that Batman versus Superman warehouse scene? What happens if it just keeps going up against weaker competition? You're like, well, it's a damn good scene. Like I can't fight against it. You know?
Yeah,
I don't know.
True. We'll see.
So we'll see how it all goes, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy this tournament. It's going to be a lot of episodes and a lot of work for Dylan and I to do. And it's going to be an incredible amount of fucking graphics that I have to do this goddamn episode. But we're going to have some fun with it, and we're going to enjoy how it ends up. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this over the month of March. And we're looking forward to be able to do it for you. So go watch some great movies, and if you have suggestions, and we truly mean this, if you have suggestions, put them in the comment section, please, because we will at least go try to watch stuff in single scene format, at the very least, if we haven't already seen the movie, to go watch it. I'm watching a lot of Asian cinema in scenes right now, just to be like, does this belong? Does this belong? Does this belong? So put it in the comment section and let us know what you guys are thinking. We would greatly appreciate it. That's going to do it. Go watch a great action movie or a great movie in general, and love yourself. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Come on!